joke is perfect if you were the one performing it. I cannot pull that off, and we both have to recognize that. So I think finding editors that are good for you is really important. I'm not sure if we've talked about this before, about kind of creative writing classes in university, because I minored, I guess I specialized in creative writing within my English honors degree. So I took a few creative writing classes, and there would be 16 people who would all give you feedback. All of the other students would give you feedback. And there would always be one person who loved it and one person who hated it for the exact same reasons, right? Like, and I think that was a really great lesson on, like, you know, people give you feedback based on sometimes what they would do if it was them, you know? And so some people would be like, Miranda, you know, your style's too, you know, you could get more elevated with your language, or, you know, whatever. And they would basically critique the stuff that I was trying to accomplish with my work, you know? And I mean, and also some people give you advice like, hey, we should throw a zombie in there. And I'm like, this is a nonfiction about my family, so maybe not zombies, you know? But like, I think
that sounds hilarious.
Yeah. That'd be a wonderful story. It's just not my story, right? So I think it's interesting, the balance between like trying new tools. I certainly like to like try different things and like put on different hats and see how, you know, different styles fit my work. But ultimately it's your writing and it's your name at the top of the page. And so, you know, finding people who are able to look at your style and what you're trying to accomplish and give feedback based on that, I think is super important. And, you know, you said that you like taking advice based on like, you know, basically be mean, like, tell me what's bad about it. That is not me at all. I always say like sandwich technique, tell me what's good about it. Tell me what to keep doing. Like,
no. I think we should clarify that. I don't want to hear it's nice. Because it doesn't tell me anything.
That I entirely agree with.
Yeah. I don't want to hear like that. Like my biggest struggle for like my formative years writing was finding people that could give me actually legitimate feedback that would make my techniques better. I want to get better. I don't mind being complimented on something I did, especially here's me, and this is my little like enjoy. If what I intended to do actually plays out exactly the way I hope it does,
feeling,
that's
right?
amazing, right? But that doesn't like, but I've learned this too. My shit does stink, and you have to be like, and you have to be really realistic about that. Like I don't do like I'm not. Every time I write, like I'd be almost tempted to do this with you. I show you the big difference. My first novel came out last year. I got my second novel just about done.
Congratulations!
Yeah. I did 2 books last year, so I mean, I got 2 books, and so one was a poetry thing, one was a novel, and I got my next book, which I'm actually illustrating pieces of it for the first time ever, which is kind of scary.
Wow.
I grew as an artist quite a bit in this last year.
Absolutely.
The feedback I was looking for were ways to make it better and things I understood to make things better. For example, like the second novel, there's no seds, ask, question. There's none of those there's no verb play in there at all. It was a deliberate choice. It changed the whole thing. And the other thing I recognize too is I learned this ironically enough with doing like pictures and stuff like that. It made me realize something. What matters in the story? What's the expression you're going for? Now, even though I'm having silly little fun, I'm trying to learn as much as I can about expression in drawing, because it's not about how, here, I'll show you. I got to send this out and today, like this, I actually sold this, believe it or not. My Lego.
That's so cool. Look at that. You're doing illustrations, man.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Well, I sold that piece. I gotta actually mail it later today. But the thing about that is every time I play with a different thing, I come back with a toolbox when I'm doing writing or anything like that.
Absolutely.
And how I play with the tools is I ask myself this question, and I find this makes it a lot easier: is what's the story I'm trying to tell? it seems like a really simple point of view, but I mean, like, for example, we can talk about a concept like crazy, okay? Maybe like you're trying to look at crazy from like, what is the actual happy perspective of crazy? And that was the story you wanted to tell with that word. But what if the story I wanted to tell with that word is that maybe there's the one normal person is judging everybody else as crazy? That's a very different story than the one you told. That's a very different story. So the techniques, right? So maybe
God, where do you find that normal person though? But yes, I get the point of like,
yeah, exactly, right? I mean but the thing about that, right, is again, maybe my wordplay, maybe I'm a little bit more manic than you were, right? Maybe I'm a little bit more like almost like a mad glee because I'm talking about madness, and I want that in the wordplay so it comes out in a very, very different. But that's a different story.
Yep.
It's a totally different story than the one you chose to tell. So I think, with technique, I think one of the things I want to point out here, before you choose whatever technique you choose, the first important question you may want to ask yourself is, if I'm telling a story, what's the story I'm really telling here? What am I actually trying to say?
Yep. I think laying out an outline and a plot is integral to what I do. I usually do kind of a bullet point outline of like, okay, I'm going to talk about, the good uses of crazy, and then I'm going to talk about how it's been used negatively, and then I'm going to talk about redefining it, and then I'm going to end on empowerment. I'll do kind of like an outline these days of how I kind of want it to look and what story I'm telling. I was really curious, so I want to circle back to something you were saying about technique. Just as a creative writer, you were talking about not using words like said, asked, questioned. Now, do you replace these with like more interesting speaking words, or you just do descriptions, or you just leave plain dialogue? I'm just so interested in this technique.
So this is what I do. I realized something too, like everything you do in a novel is a story. So how are they moving? What's their body language?
Okay, good. Yep.
What's their body language? The first novel was great. It taught me, I did it. The first novel, it was very close to what I wanted to set across. But the next time I do a novel, the next time I looked at it, it's like, I confused some people when they read the book. And when I was getting my reviews back, I listened. And then I just like look around. So what could I do to make either the characters more relatable, or what could I do to, again, because they were very specific things. Right, there were very specific things, and some of my friends who are writers actually pointed some of these things out to me. It's like, this is a good story, but this could have been great. And I'm so proud of that first novel. I really am.
Absolutely.
I really enjoyed it.
You learn something from each story.
Yeah.